The night outside was invisible, swallowed in endless dark, but she felt it pressing against the steel of the aircraft. Why did it feel heavier than usual? Why did every second carry the weight of an unspoken countdown? Her chest rose slow, controlled. Her hand still lingered near the plate of her vest. No one else would notice. They were all too wrapped up in their own storms, storms you couldn't see unless you knew how to look. The rookie's knee bounced again, his rhythm offbeat with the engines. He caught her watching and froze, embarrassed. She didn't smile this time. She just looked away. He wasn't her responsibility, not yet. But the truth was she noticed everything. She always had. The scarred sergeant in the corner, his lips moving, soundless. She wondered if he was speaking to God or to someone who'd never answer again. The medic rubbing that photo's edges raw, his wife, his daughter, or someone he'd lost already. The radio operator's eyes darting, never settling. He looked like a man trying to calculate the odds of his own death and finding no number he liked. And yet none of them noticed her silence, her stillness. That was the advantage of being quiet long enough. People stopped asking why. But silence could suffocate. Her memory drifted again, uninvited. The desert heat, the grit in her teeth, the sound of gunfire still echoing in her skull. She hadn't wanted to kneel in that dust, hadn't wanted to cradle a man she barely knew. But his voice had branded itself into her bones. His words, not for the radio, not for the team, not for command, only for her. Keep this in, until the moment, not before. And then the moment had ended him. Her breath caught. She blinked fast, pulling herself back before anyone saw the crack in her armor. She hated this part, the waiting. The endless vibration of the C-130, the smell of sweat and oil, the thrum of nerves pretending to be laughter. She hated it because it was in these moments, when nothing was happening, that her mind had space to betray her. The pilot's voice punched through the intercom. 5 minutes. Everything shifted. The laughter died. The tapping stopped. Even the rookie's wide eyes narrowed, his jaw clenching like he wanted to bite down on the fear. They all moved almost in unison, checking straps, tightening helmets, padding gear. Rituals. Tiny pieces of control before the world outside stole the rest. She did the same but slower, measured. Her body knew the rhythm, her hands steady, but inside there was something else, something restless. Because while they were preparing for the mission, she was preparing for something more. She closed her eyes again only for a breath, the message, the weight. She could almost hear the dead man's voice again. Almost feel the pressure of his hand crushing hers, almost taste the metallic tang of blood in the dust-choked air. Her chest tightened, she let it, then released. 2 minutes. The sergeant made the sign of the cross. The medic kissed his thumb and pressed it to the photo. The radio operator muttered something like a curse. The rookie swallowed hard, his Adam's apple jerking. And she pressed her palm briefly to her chest again, as if reassuring herself the message hadn't slipped away, that it was still locked inside, guarded, silent. When the ramp opened, the night didn't greet them gently. It hit like a wall, cold, wet, alive with the distant rumble of thunder. The storm had rolled in faster than the forecast predicted. Good, a storm could cover sins. The team filed out, boots striking metal then soil, their breaths visible in the sudden chill. They moved with practiced silence, but even silence had sound if you listened hard enough. She did. She always did. The world smelled of rain and mud. The wind carried a warning. She tucked it away. No one asked her why she lingered half a step behind, her eyes scanning shadows longer than needed. No one asked because they thought they knew her. The quiet one, the precise one, the one who never wasted words. They didn't know silence was her weapon and her curse. The squad pushed forward, vanishing into the tree line. Their boots sank soft into the soaked earth, their outlines swallowed by branches and mist. She followed, the last shadow in the line. Every sense was awake. The hiss of rain through leaves, the distant pop of electricity in the sky, the smell of damp earth clinging to everything, the slight squeak of the rookie's gear rubbing where it shouldn't. Her chest throbbed again, not from exertion but from memory. The message still waiting. Not yet, she reminded herself. Not here. But the truth was, she didn't know when the moment would come. That was the weight of the promise. It wasn't just secrecy. It was trust in something she couldn't predict. And it scared her more than bullets ever had. They stopped near a ridge. The captain raised a fist, the signal for hold. Everyone crouched, adjusting, listening. Her breath fogged in front of her face. She watched it fade, as if even her breath wanted to disappear. The captain whispered low, 2 clicks north, target grid confirmed, stay tight. The rookie fumbled slightly with his strap. The sergeant's hand shot out, steadying it, no words, just a look. The kind that said, don't mess this up, don't die for something stupid. She saw it all, absorbed it, let it weigh on her. Because she knew more than they did. She knew something hidden, tucked behind her ribs, and she hated it. Hated being the only one with a truth that could shift the ground they stood on. But she couldn't speak. Not until the moment. The rain came harder, pattering against their helmets, dripping into their collars. The forest hissed with it, alive with sound. She closed her eyes again for half a heartbeat, and the memory returned sharper than before. The desert. The man's blood warm on her hands, his breath rattling, his voice jagged, cutting into her bones. You'll know when, you'll know, don't fail me. The promise had been carved into her, and promises had weight. She opened her eyes. Her hand pressed once more to her chest, just for a moment. Then she forced it away. Her silence had kept her alive. Her silence had kept the mission alive. But silence was starting to feel like betrayal. She looked at the faces around her, blurred by rain and shadow. They trusted her without knowing why. They trusted her to be who she'd always been, precise, reliable, silent. But inside she knew. Sooner or later, silence would break. And when it did, everything, every bond, every breath, every life, would hang on what she chose to say. Why was the storm louder than their breathing? Why did it feel like the rain itself was warning them to turn back? The forest swallowed them whole. Branches clawed at their shoulders, the mud clung to their boots, and every sound was amplified. Thunder rolling above, the distant crack of branches, the sharp inhale of the rookie when he slipped but caught himself. She moved like shadow, silent, deliberate. She had learned long ago that hesitation was death, but so was noise. Every step mattered. Every glance mattered. The squad pushed north, following the captain's compass and his low, steady hand signals. They trusted him. She trusted him too, but not completely. Because there was something the captain didn't know. Something no one here knew. And it lived inside her chest, beating with her heart. Her throat tightened. She forced her breath quiet. She hated this feeling, the split between loyalty and duty, between silence and truth. Lightning split the sky for half a breath, lighting their faces white. In that flash she saw the rookie's fear clearer than ever. His eyes darted left, then right, like a trapped animal. He wanted to be anywhere but here. She remembered being him once. The first mission. The first night in hostile ground. The first time realizing your life was at the mercy of others, and that theirs was at the mercy of yours. That truth could crush a soul. The sergeant nudged the rookie forward, muttering under his breath, "Keep moving, kid." The boy nodded, too quick, his helmet bobbing. She kept her gaze forward, but her thoughts weren't where her feet were. They drifted backward, to the desert, to that dying man. He hadn't been her friend. He hadn't even been her direct commander, just another link in the chain. And yet he had chosen her with his final words to bear something none of the others could. She hated him for it, and she respected him for it. That contradiction lived inside her every day. The squad halted at a break in the trees. The captain scanned the map under a red lens, his jaw tight. The rain made the paper limp, but he steadied it like he'd steadied worse things. His lips moved, whispering numbers, coordinates, timing. The radio operator leaned in close, nodding, jotting details on his waterproof slate. His fingers twitched, always twitching. She crouched, her rifle braced against her knee, eyes locked on the horizon. She didn't need to hear the details again. She already knew the plan. The plan was simple. The plan was never simple. Her stomach knotted, because the plan was only half the truth. She felt it again, the pressure in her chest, as if the message itself was begging to be freed. She pressed a hand against it, subtle, like brushing away a raindrop. Not yet. She had promised, and promises were the only currency worth more than blood. The captain's whisper carried through the squad, "Move." They did one by one, ghosts in the storm. The ridge fell away beneath them, opening to a valley carved by rivers long dried. The mud clung thicker, sucking at boots. The rookie stumbled again, this time catching himself with his hands in the muck. He cursed under his breath. The sergeant hauled him up with one strong pull, muttering again. She couldn't catch the words, but she caught the tone. Fatherly, almost. A man who had lost sons before and didn't want to lose another. She turned her eyes forward. Through the storm haze, lights shimmered faint, like stars that had fallen too low. The compound, their destination. Her chest tightened again, not from nerves, from knowledge. Because she knew something about those lights that they didn't. She blinked slow, her silence pressed harder against her throat. What if she told them now? What if she broke the promise, revealed the truth before the moment? Her mind spun. The captain would stop, recalculate, maybe abort. The sergeant would stare at her like she had ripped trust out of his hands. The rookie wouldn't understand at all. The mission would fracture. And yet, maybe lives would be spared. Her boots sank deeper into the mud. The weight of that choice dragged heavier than the storm. The medic caught her eye, not on purpose, just a glance through rain, but in that brief connection she saw something. Weariness, hope, a man who carried the faces of the living and the dead in equal measure. She looked away first. If he stared too long, maybe he'd see the truth written in her silence. They reached a tree line overlooking the compound below. The captain crouched, motioned for them to fan out to watch. They did, rifles aimed, eyes sharp, hearts beating loud enough she swore the rain could hear them. The compound wasn't large, fewer buildings than expected, fewer guards visible too few. Her pulse jumped, she knew why. She knew what her silence had cost them already. Thunder cracked overhead, masking her inhale. The captain whispered, "Something off." The sergeant nodded, his scarred face grim. The rookie shifted, uncomfortable, his eyes darting to her, as if asking silently, "Do you feel it too?" She didn't answer, couldn't. Because the truth wasn't theirs yet. Not until the moment. And maybe the moment was coming now. Her chest burned, her jaw clenched. She could taste metal again, phantom blood from memory. She remembered the man's grip, his eyes, his voice cutting through everything else. Not until it matters. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the compound below. And in that brief burst of light she saw it, movement where there shouldn't be. Shapes hidden under tarps. Shadows waiting, too still to be accidents. Her silence screamed inside her. The captain whispered, "Team 1 flank east, Team 2 with me." She almost spoke, her lips parted, the words rose, raw, desperate. But then she stopped. Because the storm swallowed her voice before it could escape. She closed her mouth, swallowed it back down. Not yet. But how much longer could she wait? What if silence wasn't safety anymore? What if keeping it in was the very thing that would kill them? The storm had softened to a drizzle, but the air was heavier, thicker, like the sky itself was waiting for something to break. The squad held their position along the ridge, eyes locked on the compound below. The rookie's breath came fast and shallow, fogging the edge of his scope. The sergeant tapped his helmet lightly, steady, calm, reminding him without words. She stayed low in the mud, her rifle steady against her shoulder, but her focus wasn't on the compound. It was on her chest, on the pounding of her heart, on the weight of the message still locked inside. She could feel it pressing harder now, like a living thing trying to claw its way free. The captain scanned through his binoculars, his body rigid. He whispered into the comms, his voice steady but edged. "Something's wrong. Too quiet." Too quiet. He was right. She knew why. Her silence pressed against her throat. She wanted to speak, wanted to break free, but the memory of that dying man held her back like barbed wire. His voice was louder in her mind than the thunder. Not until it matters, not until it saves them, not before. But when was before and when was too late? She drew in a slow breath through her nose, forcing her body calm, though inside her ribs felt like they were fracturing. The sergeant shifted next to her, mud streaking across his face. "Feels wrong," he muttered low. His scar caught the faintest lightning flash. His hand gripped the stock of his rifle like it was the only solid thing in the world. The captain cut him a sharp look. "Stick to protocol." But his voice lacked conviction. He felt it too. The rookie swallowed hard, eyes darting to her again. Why always her? Maybe because she was the only one who looked calm. Maybe because he thought calm meant she knew something he didn't. And he wasn't wrong. She did know. The compound below flickered with faint light from inside one building. A lantern, a generator, hard to tell through the mist. Two guards paced slow, too slow, like they wanted to be seen, like they wanted someone to believe this place was lightly held. Her gut twisted. This wasn't a guard post, it was a stage. Her silence grew unbearable. Her lips parted again, words trembling on the edge. She could warn them now, break the chain of secrecy, change the plan before it snapped. But then the medic's voice whispered through the comms. "One of the guards is limping. Right leg. Old injury maybe. Repeats his steps every 12 seconds." The detail grounded her. The way he noticed humanity, even in the enemy. She stared at him, crouched low, rain dripping from his helmet. He didn't even realize what he'd revealed about himself, that he saw people first, targets second, that he was holding onto a piece of himself no one else here dared to show. For a heartbeat, her silence shifted into something else. Maybe she wasn't alone. The captain lowered his binoculars, his jaw set. "East team move on my mark." They shifted, boots squelching in the mud. The sergeant leaned close to her ear. Eyes sharp, no mistakes. She nodded, but her chest screamed otherwise. The squad began their crawl down the ridge, every movement deliberate, slow, mud sliding under their bodies, rifles held tight against their shoulders. The rookie grunted softly when his knee sank too deep, but he didn't stop. The sergeant hissed at him to stay quiet. The rain thinned, but the wind picked up, trees swayed, shadows stretched and curled. The world felt alive, watching. Halfway down she froze. Not from movement ahead, not from sound, but from certainty. She saw it then, the faint outline under the tarps. Shapes too long, too wide to be crates, vehicles, heavy weapons maybe, hidden in plain sight. Her breath caught sharp, her silence almost shattered. She could tell them now, warn them, save them from walking blind into teeth. But again, the memory cut through. That man's eyes, his hand crushing hers, his voice rasping blood. If you speak too soon, you undo everything. Timing is survival. Timing is the mission. Her jaw clenched so tight her teeth ached. She forced her body to keep moving, even as her chest burned. At the valley floor, the mud sucked harder at their boots. They crouched low behind fallen logs, the compound looming only a few 100 meters away. The captain signaled 2 fingers forward, then pointed left, flanking time. The rookie would follow the sergeant east. She and the medic would stay with the captain. The rookie hesitated, his eyes finding hers again, his face pale under the smudges of mud. He wanted reassurance, a word, anything. She gave him none, not because she didn't care, because if she spoke now, everything could crack. He nodded anyway, like her silence was enough, and maybe for him it was. They split. The sergeant and rookie moved east, ghosting through the brush. The rain masked their steps. She stayed low, her rifle aimed, her eyes locked on the compound. Every nerve screamed at her. Every instinct begged her to break the silence. The captain crouched beside her, his breath steady, his eyes locked on the nearest guard. Two-man patrol, simple, clean. Simple, clean. Lies. Her chest heaved once hard. She almost whispered, then almost let it slip. It's not simple, it's not clean, it's a trap. But the storm swallowed her words again, before they were born. The medic shifted beside her, his hand brushing his chest pocket where the photo always was. His breath trembled just slightly. Feels too easy. The captain shot him a sharp look. Stay sharp, nothing's easy. They waited for the signal. The rain fell softer now, but the silence pressed harder. Her hands tightened on her rifle. The moment was close. She could feel it. She didn't know how, but she could. And when the captain raised his fist to strike, her heart stopped. Because that was the moment. She knew it as clearly as she knew her own name. This was when silence would kill. Her throat burned, the words clawed upward. She had seconds less. But once she spoke, once the silence broke, nothing would ever be the same. What if the first sound that broke the silence wasn't hers, but gunfire? What if waiting just a heartbeat longer meant all of them were already dead? The captain's fist was raised, frozen against the storm-choked night. His men waited for the drop, the signal to strike. Every breath was held, every muscle wound tight. The only sound was rain whispering through leaves, mud sucking under boots. Her heart pounded like it was trying to break out of her chest. The message swelled inside her, unbearable now. It was no longer just memory. It was command. It was duty. Not until it matters. This was it. It mattered. Her lips parted, her throat dry, but she forced the words past anyway. Wait. One word, barely more than a breath, but in the hush of that moment it cut like a blade. The captain's head whipped toward her, his eyes narrowed. What? Her chest heaved, every nerve screaming. To speak now was betrayal. To stay silent was worse. She whispered low, urgent. It's a trap. Those aren't crates, they're weapons, covered, waiting. The captain's face hardened, suspicion, anger, fear, his jaw locked. How the hell do you know that? The medic's eyes flicked between them, his breath catching. The sergeant and rookie froze at the edge of the flank, their heads turning, waiting. She felt the weight of all their stares, every ounce of trust and doubt pressing down. Her silence had been her shield, now it was gone. She forced the words out, each one tearing at her. I was told, before, by someone who didn't live to make it back. He made me promise, don't speak until the moment. The captain's eyes sharpened. Who? Her throat closed. She couldn't give the name. Not yet. Maybe never. The promise was bigger than that. Someone who knew more than we do. The captain's hand hovered, still raised. His men waited, frozen between trust and command. Thunder cracked, shaking the air. And in that violent flash of light, the truth revealed itself. A tarp flapped loose in the wind, just for an instant, and beneath it the outline of mounted guns, heavy, waiting. The captain's face drained pale. He lowered his fist. The sergeant swore low under his breath. The rookie flinched, eyes wide, his chest heaving. The medic looked at her, his face unreadable, but his eyes said thank you. The captain leaned close, his whisper sharp as a blade. If you're lying, if you're wrong. She met his gaze steady. I'm not. For the first time in hours, the silence wasn't hers alone. It belonged to all of them now. Heavy, suffocating, real. The captain turned back to the compound, his voice low but firm. "Change of plan. No one moves until we know what we're walking into." The squad adjusted, their breaths shaky but controlled. The rookie trembled, gripping his rifle too tight. The sergeant's scar twitched with his clenched jaw. They all knew how close they had been to dying. One signal, 1 second later, and the ambush would have swallowed them whole. Her silence had saved them, or had nearly doomed them, depending on how you saw it. The medic crouched closer, his voice quiet, meant only for her. "How long have you carried that?" She didn't answer, not directly. She just glanced down, hand brushing her chest again. His eyes followed, understanding dawning. He nodded once, slow. "Must be heavy." She looked away. She couldn't let kindness crack her further. The captain signaled for them to hold, his mind working fast. He whispered into comms, low but urgent. "We need eyes inside. Too much unknown. If this place is loaded, it's not what intel said." The sergeant's reply came tight, controlled. "So we send someone." The captain's gaze slid to her. Her stomach dropped, of course. She was the one who spoke, the one who saw, the one who broke silence. Now she had to prove it. He leaned close, his whisper razor sharp. "You go, you saw it first, you back it up." Her blood ran cold, but her voice came steady. "Copy." The rookie's eyes widened, panic flickering. "She can't go alone." The sergeant gripped his arm, silencing him with a look. The captain's order wasn't to be questioned. Not now. She slid her rifle strap tight across her chest, adjusted her scope, checked her knife, her sidearm. Her hands were steady, her heart was not. The medic touched her arm lightly before she moved. Just a brush, human, quiet. "Don't carry it all alone." She gave him the smallest nod, but inside she knew she had no choice. The rain eased as she slipped from the squad, melting into shadow. The ground was slick, the mud treacherous, but she moved like water, silent, fluid, her breath slow, her senses wide. The compound loomed closer. The guards still paced, too casual. She could see the limp the medic had noticed, could see the second guard's hand twitching near his weapon, restless. She skirted along the edge of the outer wall, her gloves brushing wet stone. The tarp rustled again, the storm's breath pulling it loose. This time she saw clearly, heavy machine guns mounted, concealed, enough to shred her squad in seconds. Her chest tightened. The message had been right. The dead man's words had saved them. She pressed herself flat against the wall, closing her eyes. She wanted to whisper his name, to thank him, but she swallowed it back. Names had power. Names made silence break too easily. Inside the compound, voices murmured. Low, foreign, calm. Men who weren't worried because they believed their prey was already walking into the snare. Her throat clenched. She raised her comms, whispering, "Guns confirmed. At least 3 mounted, more under cover." Static crackled. The captain's voice clipped. "Copy, stay put, don't engage." She lowered the comms, her eyes still scanning. The message pulsed inside her chest. It wasn't finished yet. She knew that now. The man's words hadn't just been warning. They were map. They were prophecy. But what was the rest? Her breath slowed. Her heartbeat thundered. The rookie's face flashed in her mind. The medic's steady eyes. The sergeant's scarred jaw. The captain's suspicion. Her silence had saved them. Her silence had nearly killed them. And the night wasn't over yet. The rain had thinned to a cold mist, the kind that clung to skin and seeped into bone. Every leaf seemed to hold a droplet that trembled with waiting, just like the squad, trembling, silent, braced. She crouched against the outer wall of the compound, her gloves pressed to wet stone. The mounted guns were real. Her voice had proven true. But that only deepened the mystery. Who had set the trap and who had fed her the warning before dying? Inside her chest, the message pulsed like a second heartbeat. It wasn't finished. She could feel it. Words unsaid still coiled inside her, waiting to strike. The captain's voice buzzed low through her comms. "Report." She whispered back, steady. 3 mounted guns minimum, more under tarp cover, 2 guards packing. One limps left leg, the other restless. More voices deeper inside, at least half a dozen. Static hissed. Then the captain's reply, "Copy, hold position, we'll flank and wait for my signal." She almost smiled at the irony. He had nearly ordered them into slaughter an hour ago. Now he held back, not because of her but because of proof. Proof had weight. Words did not, until they bled true. The medic's voice whispered next, barely audible, "Eyes on you, don't push too far." Her lips parted, almost answering with thanks, but she swallowed it. She couldn't afford warmth now. Not here, not with what was coming. Her breath slowed, the world sharpened. Through the compound wall she could hear faint movements, metal shifting, boxes dragged. A low clatter of boots, the click of magazines sliding into rifles. They weren't careless guards. They were readying, waiting. She whispered into comms again. "They're prepping. Whatever in those crates, they're about to move it." The sergeant's growl came back. "So this isn't just defense, it's staging." Her chest tightened. Staging meant bigger than a trap, bigger than them. This wasn't about ambushing one squad. This was a launching point, a strike. The captain's voice hardened. "We can't walk away now. Intel was wrong. Command will need proof. We get inside, document extract. No noise unless forced." The rookie's voice cracked faintly over comms. "Inside, sir, with those guns." The sergeant cut him off with a hiss. "Quiet, orders stand." Silence hummed, but this time it wasn't hers. It belonged to all of them. The weight of choice pressed on each man's shoulders. She leaned back against the wall, the rain cooling her flushed skin. The message swelled inside her again, sharper now, clearer. She almost heard the dead man's voice in it, carried from memory. "You'll know when to speak, and when you do, it will change everything." Her throat tightened. She wasn't finished yet. The captain's whisper came again. "Silent One, you're closest. You find us a way in." The name twisted in her. Silent One. The squad had given it half as mockery, half as label, but tonight it cut deeper. Tonight it was prophecy. She breathed slow, scanned the wall. Fingers brushed across wet stone until they found weakness. An old crack near the corner, mortar eaten by moss and time. Not a way in for all of them, but a scout slit. She whispered into comms, "Weak point, north corner, one could slip through." The captain's answer came quick. "You go, report back." Her blood chilled, but she nodded even though no one could see. She holstered her rifle tight, drew her knife, and pressed her body flat against the wall. Her shoulder edged into the gap. Stone scraped, cold and wet. She exhaled, ribs compressing, and slid herself through. The compound opened before her. The air inside smelled of oil and metal, sharp and heavy. Dim lanterns swayed, their light cutting across stacks of covered crates. The guards paced slow, rifles slung, their boots dragging through puddles. She crouched low, moving with shadow, her knife a black line against her thigh. Every step was measured, silent. The rain outside muffled sound, but inside, even a breath felt loud. Her eyes scanned the crates, numbers painted in fading white, symbols she didn't recognize, but the size, the weight of them told her enough. These weren't supplies, they were weapons. Too many, too organized, enough to arm battalions. Her pulse thudded, she raised her comms. Confirmed, crates full of arms, enough for large-scale op, not just ambush. Static answered. Then the captain, "Copy, pull out, don't risk more." But before she could move, a voice cut the air, sharp, harsh, foreign. The limping guard had stopped, his eyes narrowing. His head tilted, sensing more than seeing. His hand tightened on his rifle. Her breath froze. He turned, limping closer, his eyes scanning the shadows. His voice barked out, calling to his partner. The restless one jogged over, his rifle rising. She pressed herself against the crate stack, her knife trembling in her grip. One wrong move and it was over. The guard's boots sloshed closer, water splashing at her feet. Their shadows stretched long across the lantern glow. Her heart thundered, the message inside her roared, not yet, but soon. She forced her body still, breath shallow, eyes closed. The limping guard paused, his gaze narrowing on the gap in the wall she had squeezed through. His face twisted, suspicion, realization. His lips parted to shout. Her silence broke like glass. She lunged. Knife slashed upward, clean and brutal. The blade cut across his throat before sound escaped. Blood sprayed hot against her glove. His body convulsed, then fell heavy into mud. The restless guard spun, eyes wide, rifle rising. She moved before he could fire, slamming the knife down into his chest. His breath burst out in a wet gasp. His rifle clattered. His body dropped. Her chest heaved, her hands slick with blood. The silence around her was no longer calm. It was violent, it was alive. Her comms crackled, the captain's voice urgent. "Report." She whispered low, fierce. "Two down, compromised." The compound erupted. Voices shouted, boots pounded, crates rattled. The trap was fully awake now. The squad outside tensed as gunfire barked through the night. Muzzle flashes tore against the rain. The captain cursed under his breath. "Move in. Extraction point compromised, we fight out." The sergeant roared orders, pulling the rookie by his collar. The medic shouldered his pack, his face hard, his eyes already searching for her. Inside she crouched low, her knife dripping red, her rifle swinging free. The message inside her burned hotter now, no longer whisper but command. "Speak when it matters, or all of them die." Her chest heaved. Her silence had saved them once. Broken, it had saved them again, but the cost was rising. And the night was far from over. Gunfire tore the night apart. The compound that had pulsed with quiet menace only minutes before now shook with chaos. Rifles spitting fire, boots hammering stone, shouts ricocheting off walls. She pressed her back to the crate, chest heaving, rifle locked to her shoulder. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like lightning. Every sound seemed sharper, metal ringing, bullets whistling past, the wet smack of rain hitting blood-slick ground. Her comms buzzed with overlapping voices. "Contact front. 2 down left side. Medic hold back, wait for my call." The rookie's panicked voice cracked through. "They're everywhere." Her jaw clenched. She wanted to shout, "Breathe, just breathe," but words weren't hers to give, not yet, not until it mattered. Instead, she acted. Her rifle barked, 3 short bursts. One figure collapsed in lantern light, another stumbled screaming into shadow. The recoil kicked her shoulder, grounding her, steadying her pulse. Through the gap in the wall, the sergeant stormed in first, bellowing over fire. His scarred face was lit in flashes, jaw locked like stone. The captain followed, cool precision in every shot. The rookie trailed, too close, firing blind, his fear louder than his weapon. The medic came last, head low, eyes darting, already calculating wounds he hadn't seen yet. They found her instantly, not by sight but by instinct. She was crouched near the crates, her knife still blood-wet, her silence screaming louder than any call sign. The captain dropped beside her, his voice sharp. "What the hell happened?" She didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed on the shadows moving through the compound, more coming, more than they had bullets for. Her words lodged in her throat. The message burned, begging release. But no, not yet. "They found the breach," she said simply. It was enough. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. Orders mattered more than blame. The sergeant's voice thundered. "We hold or we die." His rifle roared, cutting down 2 figures pushing through smoke. His fury had no room for doubt. The rookie's magazine clicked empty. His hands fumbled, trembling. She reached out, shoved his spare clip into his palm without looking. He blinked at her, startled by the gesture. His breath caught, steadied, then he reloaded with clumsy resolve. For a moment there was no rank, no silence, no message, just survival. But survival was slipping. Figures poured from the inner compound, rifles bristling. The crates weren't storage, they were cover. Hidden doors cracked open, spilling men armed to the teeth. The captain's curses snapped sharp. "We can't hold this." The medic shouted over the storm of fire. "Then what's the play?" His words weren't for her, but they cut her anyway, because she had the play. She had always had it, hidden heavy, chained inside her chest. Her silence was no longer shield. It was a knife at their throats. Her breath shook. The dead man's voice thundered in memory. "You'll know when to speak, and when you do, it will change everything." She rose from cover, bullets tearing splinters around her. Her lips parted. The words ripped free. "Back wall," she shouted, her voice raw, louder than the storm. "North side, there's a tunnel out. They're guarding it, not the crates." The squad froze just for a second. Her silence shattered. The captain's eyes snapped to her, disbelief flashing, then calculation. He hadn't told her about tunnels. Command hadn't told anyone. The sergeant bared his teeth in a curse. She knew all along. The rookie's face went pale, fear twisting with awe. The medic just stared, bloodied hands shaking. But there wasn't time to question. Bullets kept coming. Voices kept shouting. The compound was swallowing them alive. The captain's decision came hard and fast. "Move, north wall, push through." The squad shifted, forming a rough wedge. The sergeant took point, his rage now a shield. The rookie stumbled in the middle, clinging to orders like lifeline. The medic guarded the rear, every glance half on them, half on her. She slipped into formation, her rifle spitting fire, her chest hollow from what she'd given away. The message wasn't whole yet. She could feel it, but it had cracked open, and there was no going back. They fought through crates, lanterns shattering, fire licking shadows. Men screamed and fell. Gun barrels glowed red-hot. The rain hissed against steel. Then the wall, rough, moss-lined but real. Behind it, a narrow wooden door half hidden under tarp, just as she'd said, just as he had whispered to her before death. The captain yanked it open. A blast of stale air hit them, damp mold, earth. A tunnel, narrow, dark, salvation. The sergeant shoved the rookie inside first. "Go, go." The medic followed, hauling his pack, then the sergeant himself, his curses echoing against stone. The captain hesitated, rifle still covering. He turned to her, his eyes cut deep, demanding an answer his words didn't ask. "How?" he rasped, just one word. Her throat ached. The truth was jagged, too heavy for this moment. She forced her voice steady. "It doesn't matter, move." His jaw worked, teeth grinding, but orders pulled harder than questions. He ducked into the tunnel. She went last, slamming the door behind her. Darkness swallowed them whole. The sounds of gunfire muffled, then faded. The tunnel air was damp, choking. Their boots splashed through shallow water, every step echoing into forever. The rookie's breath came ragged. The sergeant's curses softened to mutters. The medic's voice finally cracked through, soft but sharp. She knew about this from the start. The silence that followed was heavier than the darkness. Her chest burned. Her secret wasn't a secret anymore. Not fully. The message still held more, but now its edges were jagged, cutting everyone around her. The captain's voice came at last, quiet but unyielding. "We'll finish this mission, then we'll get answers." His words weren't a threat, they were a promise. And promises were heavier than silence. They pressed on, deeper into the tunnel, their footsteps carrying them toward something none of them could yet name. And in her chest, the message still lived, restless, waiting for the final moment when silence would end forever. The tunnel spit them out into night. Cold air struck their faces as they stumbled into a clearing framed by jagged rock and dripping vines. The rain had thinned, but the forest still clung to mist. Moonlight bled silver across leaves, their breath rising in pale clouds. For a moment no one spoke, no one even breathed too loudly. They just listened, ears straining for pursuit. Nothing, no boots pounding behind them, no shouted orders, only the slow rhythm of water dripping from moss, the faint crack of branches shifting in the wind. They had escaped. But freedom didn't feel like relief. It felt like silence that had teeth. The rookie broke first. He bent over, hands on knees, gasping. His rifle clattered to the mud. "God, God, we made it." His laugh came out cracked, desperate. "We actually made it." The sergeant didn't laugh. He grabbed the rookie by the collar, yanked him upright, and shoved him against a tree. His scarred face twisted in rage. "We didn't make it anywhere," he growled. "We followed her, into a tunnel none of us knew existed. You think that's chance?" The rookie's eyes darted to her, wide, afraid, searching for something to cling to. The medic stepped between them, pushing the sergeant back. His voice was sharp, but his eyes were tired. "Enough. We're alive because of her, that's fact." The sergeant snarled. "Alive, or led into something worse." His glare cut to her, hot and unrelenting. "You've been holding back since day one, sitting quiet in briefings, avoiding eyes, and tonight, what? You suddenly know more than command, more than us. Tell me, Silent One, who the hell are you working for?" Her throat closed, words pressed against it, desperate to break. The message clawed at her chest, alive, burning. "But not yet, not here." She forced her voice steady, low, controlled. "I'm working for the same flag as you." The sergeant's jaw flexed, muscle twitching. He wanted more. He wanted blood. The captain finally spoke, his tone iron. "That's enough, Sergeant." The sergeant didn't move. His breath came hard, nostrils flaring, eyes still locked on her. But he stepped back slowly, reluctantly, like a predator pulling from prey. The medic's hand lingered on his shoulder until the tension eased, just slightly. The rookie whispered, almost to himself. She knew about the tunnel. If she hadn't, he trailed off, voice small, guilt woven through it. No one answered him. The captain scanned the tree line, then raised his hand. "We move. We're burned. That compound will send word fast. They'll hunt. We need distance, cover, and a signal point." His eyes flicked back to her just for a second. "And answers." They moved. The forest swallowed them, dark, damp, alive with unseen movement. Their boots squelched in mud, their gear clinked soft, their breaths fogged in the cold. Every sound seemed too loud, every silence too deep. She kept to the middle of the formation, rifle in hand, her mind a storm. She remembered the dying man again, the weight of his hand, the fire in his eyes. "You'll know when to speak." Had she already spoken too soon? Had she betrayed the timing? Or was the message unfolding exactly as it was meant? The medic slowed to match her pace. His voice came soft, low enough that only she could hear. "Whatever you're carrying, it's killing you." Her grip tightened on her rifle. She didn't answer. He studied her face for a moment, then nodded as if confirming something only he understood. "When the time comes, just don't wait too long." His words lingered like an echo. Hours passed. The forest thickened. The rookie stumbled more often, exhaustion weighing on him. The sergeant kept muttering under his breath, curses and suspicions woven together. The captain led with quiet precision, pausing often, listening, scanning. At last they found it, an abandoned watch post. Stone half-collapsed, roof caved, moss-climbing walls, but it had shelter, cover, a place to breathe if only briefly. They filed in, settling with heavy sighs. The rookie slumped against the wall, his eyes fluttering shut. The medic checked him, hands moving gentle, practiced. The sergeant paced like a caged animal, boots grinding grit. The captain stood near the doorway, watching the forest through a crack in the stone. His silhouette was rigid, still, every line of him carved from tension. Finally he turned, his eyes locked on her. "Talk." The word cut like a blade. She froze. The sergeant stopped packing, a dark smile tugging at his scarred mouth. The rookie blinked awake, suddenly alert. The medic's hand stilled, his gaze lifting to her face. Her breath trembled, the message inside her clawed and screamed. She wanted to speak. She wanted to spill everything, but the dead man's voice held her tongue. She swallowed hard. It isn't safe yet. The sergeant barked a bitter laugh. Safe? You think any of this is safe? He jabbed a finger at her. You're sitting on something that nearly got us killed. You don't get to play cryptic prophet anymore. The captain's eyes narrowed. Enough, Sergeant. But his tone was different now. Not protective, not absolute. He wanted answers too. Her chest burned. She met his gaze steady though her voice shook. If I speak now, we all die, that's the truth. The words fell heavy in the ruin. The sergeant's fists clenched. The rookie's lip trembled. The medic's face tightened with worry. The captain didn't look away. He held her in silence, weighing her, dissecting her. Then he gave a single nod. Then we wait. But understand this, when the time comes, you won't have a choice. You'll tell us. Her throat tightened. She didn't answer. The storm outside had eased to a soft drizzle. The forest hummed with insects, a low chorus that filled the ruin. But inside, the silence was heavier than any storm. Each man drifted into uneasy rest, except the sergeant, who muttered curses even in half-sleep. Except the captain, who stayed near the doorway, his rifle never leaving his hands. Except her, who sat with her back against cold stone, her hand pressed against her chest as if holding the message inside. She thought of the dead man again, the weight of his eyes, his voice breaking as he gave her the secret. She whispered it in her head, over and over, so she wouldn't forget. And with every repetition, she wondered, when she finally spoke it aloud, what would it cost? Dawn broke pale and reluctant, spilling light across the ruined watch post. The forest steamed where rain met sun, tendrils of mist weaving between the trees. The squad rose stiff, hollow-eyed, weapons clutched even in exhaustion. None of them had truly slept, not with questions clawing at them, not with her silence pressing like a second presence in the room. She sat apart, back straight against the cold stone, eyes fixed on the tree line. Her hand was on her rifle, but her grip wasn't tight. She wasn't ready to fire. She was ready to speak. The captain's voice cut the morning stillness. We move. The others stirred, pulling gear, checking magazines, adjusting straps, but his gaze stayed on her, sharp, demanding. And she knew the time had come. Her chest burned as if fire lived inside. The message was alive, screaming, clawing for release. If she held it any longer, it would consume her. If she spoke it too late, it would consume them. She stood slow. The squad's eyes followed her. The rookie blinked, fear etched deep in his face. The medic stilled, his hands frozen mid-pack. The sergeant leaned forward, jaw tight, suspicion radiating. Her breath trembled, then steadied. There's more, she said, her voice rough from holding too long. The compound wasn't the target, it was a staging point. The weapons, they're already moving. By dusk, they'll cross the border. If they get through, entire villages will burn. The rookie's breath hitched. God. She forced herself to keep going. That's why I knew about the tunnel, why I knew the trap. He told me before he died. The medic's brow furrowed. He. Her voice cracked just slightly. The informant, the one command wrote off. They said he was unreliable, disposable, but he wasn't lying. He gave me the truth, his last breath, and told me to carry it, told me not to speak until it mattered. Her throat tightened. The image of his blood in the dust burned behind her eyes. And now it matters. The silence after her words was heavy, almost unbearable. The sergeant's face twisted. So we've been following a ghost's word, a dead man's whispers. You put us in that hell on hearsay. Her chest ached, but her voice stayed steady. Not hearsay, evidence. You saw the crates, you saw the guns, he wasn't wrong. The captain's eyes narrowed. His silence stretched long, calculating, weighing. The medic broke it first, his voice softer than the morning breeze. Then what do? We can't stop an entire convoy alone. She met his gaze. We don't have to stop them, we just have to warn command, get word out, show proof. That's why he trusted me, not to fight the whole war, but to deliver the message he died for. The rookie whispered, almost to himself. She's been carrying it all along. The sergeant spat into the dirt, or carrying a lie. But his voice lacked its earlier fire. Doubt lingered, but certainty was breaking. The captain finally spoke. His tone was iron but not cold. If she's right, we don't have time to doubt. We move. We find high ground, send signal. Command can decide what to do with it. The sergeant's jaw flexed. He wanted to argue, but orders bound him. He turned away, muttering. The medic exhaled. Relief and dread tangled together. The rookie nodded too quickly, clinging to the decision. And she felt the fire ease just slightly. Not gone, but shared. The burden no longer hers alone. They moved. The forest thickened again, branches clawing at their gear, mud sucking at their boots. Hours stretched long, the weight of daylight pressing down. Every sound became a question, bird call or signal, crack of twig or enemy step. At last they reached a ridge. The forest fell away beneath it, revealing a valley carved by a river's silver line. Beyond, roads snaked toward the border. And there in the distance dust rose. Convoys, trucks bristling with weapons, proof in motion. The rookie's eyes widened. They weren't lying, she wasn't lying. The sergeant said nothing. His silence was no longer accusation but unease. The captain raised his radio, fingers quick, precise. Static hissed. He tried again, voice sharp, clear. Command, this is Falcon Team. Priority message. Enemy convoy en route, heavy arms, coordinates transmitting now. Repeat, priority intercept. Do you copy? Static swallowed him. Her chest sank. Again, louder, sharper. Command, this is Falcon Team. Priority message. Do you read? Static, then crackle, a faint voice distorted. Copy, signal weak, send proof. The captain's eyes snapped to her. Proof. She lifted her rifle, aimed through scope, and captured what words couldn't. The convoy crawling across the valley, crates visible, armed escorts in formation. She snapped the image with the camera attachment, heart pounding. The medic passed her the transmitter. She linked, sent the feed. The seconds stretched like years. Then command's voice again, clearer, stronger. Falcon Team, proof received, stand by. Air support inbound, intercept confirmed. You are not alone. The rookie sagged in relief. The medic closed his eyes, whispering something under his breath. The sergeant exhaled through clenched teeth, anger softening into grim acceptance. The captain's shoulders eased just slightly. He lowered the radio, his gaze settling on her. You saved this mission, he said simply. No praise, no warmth, just truth. Her throat tightened, she shook her head. He did, I just carried it. The valley trembled minutes later with the roar of approaching jets. Fire streaked the sky. The convoy below erupted in smoke, flame blooming against the earth. The border would not burn tonight. The squad watched in silence, the roar echoing through their bones. And for the first time, the message inside her was quiet, empty, free. They began the walk back, slow, heavy, each lost in thought. The rookie clung to relief, the medic to exhaustion, the sergeant to grudging respect, the captain to silence that carried more than orders. And she carried nothing. For the first time since the desert road, her chest was her own. As they reached the tree line, the captain slowed beside her. His voice was low, almost softer than the forest breeze. Why not tell command from the start? She didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed on the horizon, pale gold with dawn. Because sometimes, she said, her voice quiet but certain, a message isn't meant to be shouted. It's meant to be carried, until the weight of it teaches you what silence is worth. He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded once as if he understood. The squad moved on. And as the forest closed around them, silence lingered, not heavy, not suffocating, but dignified. Because sometimes dignity doesn't speak. It simply acts.